On today's Halloween episode of Grow Up, Level Up, we're diving into one of the scariest things in life, a career change. On August 22nd, 2024, Jerica announced on Kinda Funny Game Daily that she will be going full-time in content creation on her channel, JK Games. So in today's episode of Grow Up, Level Up, we're going to get into the why, the how, and have Jerica share some tips for those maybe looking to do the same thing in going in and following their dream. This is Grow Up, Level Up, and hello, my name is Samson. Welcome to Grow Up, Level Up, the interview podcast where we talk to folks about how they interview or how they integrate fun and games into their day-to-day life. Today, I'm actually joined by my Gamers Club co-host, Jordan, aka SirDrJM, for our first double-hosted Gulu episode. Jordan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I really thought you might introduce me as Monkey D. Luffy. Got to give the video listeners, watchers, something to look forward to. So,
yes. If you didn't catch it at the top of the show, this is a special Halloween episode of Grow Up, Level Up. So we got some special costumes on. Monkey D. Luffy.
Thank you.
Gum fruit eating friend.
That's all right.
And joining us today is, of course, our special guest herself, Jerica. Jerica, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm just a little hot dog looking for a home, and I'm glad this might be the place.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, a little bit about myself. I actually really do like eating hot dogs. Every summer, I'm like, it's hot dog time. It's hot dog
They're predefined.
Season.
I actually, anytime I mention hot dogs, my mother, because I actually showed her a picture of me in the hot dog costume, and she always reminds me of this story when I was younger. When you're a dumb little kid and you're like, the teacher gives you an assignment, what's your favorite food? What do you like to do when you're at home? And I put my favorite food is hot dogs. My mom makes the best hot dogs. And my mom was actually, that's really cute, but mom's like, those don't take any effort, Jerica. You could have come up with anything else. So your teacher now knows that I can boil some dogs, I guess. So
there are some hot dogs that are trickier. If you have to cook them from raw, it's a little harder, but you get a good sear and all that.
Yeah, maybe for you, Samson.
All right. And if you didn't catch it, we're all in costume. We got Jordan as Monkey D. Luffy, Jerica as the tastiest hot dog. Some would say Jerica's mom's hot dogs.
Yes, the best.
She is, in fact, Jerica's mom's. So,
For myself, I am Ken from Barbie, or just Ken. I think he's his own thing.
Well, read the shirt.
It says, I am Kenough. Ironically, this hoodie is going to be covered by the microphone the whole episode, but take a quick look, YouTube viewers.
There you go.
Welcome to the show, Jerica, once again. For those who don't know who you are or what you do or why you're in a hot dog costume, is this every day? Is this a Halloween thing? We don't know. Would you mind introducing yourself?
Yeah, I'm Jerica. Yes, I do have this hot dog costume for literally every Halloween stream I do on my podcast. It's a foam thing I can slide on and go. I should implement it, use this in my day-to-day, going out to get groceries and stuff.
Absolutely.
I love attention, so why am I not wearing this everywhere? But yeah, I have a podcast that I do with my co-host Kayla called JK Games. And in my spare time, I'm trying to play games and review them and, also take care of my dog and spend time with my girlfriend. And yeah, that's about it. And I know that doesn't sound like much, but ultimately, this new transition, and we'll get into it later, has really messed with my day-to-day flow to the point, I have to start planning out more stuff. So I don't forget to feed the dog because I'm just sitting here at the computer. But yeah, we've been doing our podcast for a little over 3 years, and we talk about video games, and Kayla's an avid reader, so she likes to share what books she's reading occasionally. I'm not. I'm just the weenie in the room, so I'm just talking about games mainly. We also dive into TV shows occasionally. We actually have a whole other episode dedicated to reviewing The Last of Us TV show, week to week when those episodes aired earlier. Was that last year or this year? Last year. And we'll do the same for season 2. We just realized we were talking about it way too much on the show. So I was like, this needs its own space.
Dedicated show.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, I totally just made this connection right now. You guys love the Last of Us TV show. That TV show is actually filmed in Jordan and I's like hometowns,
Good
right?
point, Samson.
I'm
You are so right.
jealous.
So season 1 was filmed largely in the province that I'm from and very near the city that I lived in. One of the main locations was called a town called High River, and I used to drive through there all the time. And now season 2 is moving to Vancouver because, of course, they always do. But it was a big deal that Alberta had a lot of The Last of Us filmed. Actually, yeah, there was a bunch filmed in Calgary as well. I had a friend who was attending, not attending, he was working at the university where a lot of the university scenes were filmed and everything. And he was sending me set pictures and all sorts of stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a really exciting time because we don't normally get that kind of attention. So
That is awesome. I'm so
Forgot
jealous.
about
I
that.
would be like walking the streets
was
just
cool.
looking. I just want to be an extra. Just
When-
put
when-
some,
Yeah.
put
when
some makeup on me, some blood,
Yeah.
and I will click around as much as you
When-
want.
when they filmed in Edmonton, there was one time where I hopped in the car and just kind of went cruising downtown to be like, okay, what's all fenced off? You know, what looks more like a movie set than construction? Because it's always kind of hard to tell. But I didn't catch anything. But
Yeah. Unfortunately I didn't catch any of the set either, but you always see pictures of like everyone working downtown, like my mom working downtown. She just snapped a picture. It's like, oh look, they're filming something. I was like, I think you'd like this show, Mom. You know, a show about creepy zombies. But yeah, oh, that's cool. What a great connection.
good connection. That's
thank you.
hilarious. Good thinking.
Making connections and
Tip of the
construction.
hat to that.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, welcome to the show, Jerica.
Tip of the dog.
Tip of the weenie? Yes.
There we go. I was going to make the
Don't say-
joke, but I didn't know what kind of podcast this was. There we go.
You know, we're pretty
Tip of the
loosey-goosey.
weenie.
Oh, it really does come over like a hat. If you're
I
listening
don't
on
know why.
podcast, come over to YouTube.
Yeah.
Come over to
What's
YouTube.
wrong with me?
It's
Let's
better.
go the full way here. Here we
There's
are.
visual
Go
gags all the
all
time.
the way with the tip of the weenie.
We're here.
As we start off our episode, I like to ask our guests some icebreaker questions, even though I feel like the ice has been broke so far, but I do got to ask, what's everyone drinking today on the podcast?
Go first, Samson.
Oh, sure. I'm drinking nothing too exciting, something called a bubbly. I think it's a Canadian thing.
Do you guys
Just
have
some
bubbly? I was
sparkling
about to
water.
ask.
I mean, I think we do. Like, yeah, it's a
Oh.
carbonated beverage, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty healthy. Kind of.
It's sparkling water. That's the word I was thinking of.
Sparkling water.
That thing.
Carbonated beverage. Exciting water. I've heard some people describe
There
it
you go.
as. Maybe Peter from Family Guy? I'm not sure. That might be a real deep cut of one Family Guy joke. But yeah, bubbly, I really like. It's nice to have in the evening. Usually I go for something like a Coke, but I know I feel like I'm going to have a lot of sugar tomorrow because tomorrow is Halloween. So I'm going to kind of staying off that.
Yep.
Yeah. Jerica, what are you drinking today on the pod?
Well, we're in different time zones, so it's
Oh.
past grandma's bedtime, so I had to drink a Red Bull. So you know what I'm saying? Because even though it's 10 o'clock here, which isn't that late, I still get a little sleepy. I'm not on the routine of staying up as late for this video game stream action, but I'm working through it. So yeah, Red Bull, and then of course just water inside of my cool PlayStation cup.
That
Okay,
is
that
a
is
cool
pretty
cool.
PlayStation
I mean,
cup bottle.
Yeah, bottle thing.
I
Yeah,
love
for
it.
audio listeners, it's a really
Oh,
big
yes.
water bottle
Mhm.
with seems like the PS1
PS1
Yes.
etched
design
into
on
it.
it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's-
Where'd you get
if you-
that?
Oh, you can get it from the PlayStation merch store.
Oh, okay.
I forget the website. They call every website they use something different. PlayStation Gear. There we go.
You must have all the Last of Us stuff from there too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Went down a rabbit hole, but at some point I had to stop. They're so expensive.
It is. It's cool stuff though.
It is.
Jordan, what about you? What are you drinking today?
Diet Coke. As
Oh.
pretty usual, I'm often having a Diet Coke on the pod. So
Ooh. Yep. All right. So I feel like maybe this is just me, but I feel like there's a Diet Coke versus Coke Zero standoff. Like where do you stand on this? Do you
Well,
have
yeah,
a firm stance?
that's because Coke Zero sucks and
Whoa.
Diet Coke is the best.
I love Coke Zero though.
For a long time, I would have told you that Coke Zero tasted awful and nothing like Coke. I do think they've refined the recipe now, and it's fine now. So I will drink it, but yeah, no, we're a Diet Coke household. So,
Wow.
and to be honest with you, the only reason it's diet is because I turned 30 a couple of years back, and I knew I needed to change something in my life, or the pounds were just going to start catching up with me at some point. So I switched to Diet Coke. But
Jerica, do you have a strong political stance on the Diet Coke versus Coke Zero?
Well, I do go back and forth, and I've always been Diet Coke. Like, I think because of my grandmother always drank diet soda anyways, like, and I just got used to that taste. So any regular Coke actually was always too sweet to me.
okay.
So that's a nice little way to start your life, not
Absolutely.
wanting sugar.
That's good. Yeah.
It was on accident though, completely. But yeah, I didn't. My girlfriend just started getting Coke Zero, and I was like, this is actually not too bad.
Oh no,
So
we're losing
I
it.
occasionally
Coke
go
Zero.
back and forth. We have them both in the refrigerator, but
Okay, it's
Okay.
if
acceptable.
I'm eating a chicken sandwich, I have to have a Diet Coke though. Like that's just like French fries,
I can get
chicken
down with that.
sandwich, Diet Coke.
Yep.
That's like the
Mhm.
combo.
Fair enough. I mean, now that I think about it, I feel like my reasons for liking Diet Coke is less about the taste and more about the branding. I just think maybe Zero sounds cooler, and the black and red, it looks a lot cooler than the gray and red.
You got a point.
You're not wrong. Yeah,
That's sort of
I get
cool.
it.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Welcome to my TED Talk. Thank you for coming.
It is Halloween. By the time this episode goes up, you may be getting ready to go trick-or-treating, or maybe you're listening to us while you are trick-or-treating with your little ones or your similar aged ones. We don't judge. But to get into the mood, I usually ask our guests what their top 3 games of all time, but we're changing it up today. We're going to ask everybody what their 3 spookiest games or favorite scary games they've played are. I say spooky and scary because I might have twisted the rules a little bit. Would anybody like to start with their first spooky game?
Jerica, you're the guest. You go ahead.
I'm gonna start like my top one, and I was pondering on this question because I was like, there's a lot of. It's really hard to scare me. I don't get unless you just sneak up on me, or someone sends me one of those Instagram videos where you're like, oh, watch this, you better focus on it. Then there's a jump scare that always gets me. But in terms of games, the game that has freaked me out the most, to the point where it like literally gave me nightmares, was the playable teaser PT.
I knew it.
That's it. Like
It's a
that
classic.
is something that only lasts like I feel like 20 or 30 minutes. Scariest experience of my life playing that. Like,
Let
so
me
good.
clarify something. But do you like that? Do you like that it was scary?
I do.
Okay.
I don't. It's just the I don't know how it was approached, and you really didn't know what was going on, and just like being able to turn around and knowing something was there, and like it could be there and it might not be there, and every rotation you went through that hallway was different, and you just didn't know what to expect, and I think that's why it was so scary to me.
Hold on. Did you ever play it, Samson?
No. What was that era? Was that PS4 or PS3?
PS4.
PS4.
Yeah,
I don't think I had a PS4 at that time, and at the time I wasn't really into scary games. So no, that's one thing I missed. But I do like Hideo Kojima's stuff. But unfortunately, I missed PT. Maybe one day I'll play it. Maybe I'll spend $2,000 on a PS4.
I accidentally sold mine. Didn't even think about it, and it's gone. That it was downloaded on. It's devastating.
You know what? It's funny because that does not make my list, because I'm the complete opposite, and I despise scary stuff, and I hate getting scared, and I'm very jumpy. And I played PT, and I swear it haunted my apartment after that. And I moved out of that apartment within months.
Oh my
I was
God.
scared to death of that game.
Your apartment looked a little too close to those hallways.
Yes, it was legitimately, I swear up and down to this day, I played through it with 2 of my friends. I remember when it was announced or whatever at, I think it was a PlayStation conference or something during E3. And I was like, that's kind of cool. I'll give it a try. So I had, it was actually my now wife, then girlfriend, and one of my best friends. They came over that night. I downloaded it, and I was like, I've never played a spooky game before. Let's give it a try. Let's see what this is all about. And I started off with the controller. Of course, it's first-person view. You start walking down, and you wake up in a little room, and then you walk down a hallway. And I just remember them like looking at me and being like, why are you walking so slow? And I was like, you guys don't understand. It's so scary just taking steps forward. And so then I passed them the controller, and sure enough, they learned it is terrifying just being in control and trying to move. And absolutely terrifying. I remember there's one part as well where there's a little door off to the side. I believe it leads to a bathroom. You open that door and there's like a brief image of a ghost that kind of slams the door in your face and just like yanks it closed. And we all swore that when that happens, the ghost also yelled at you. But having rewatched it on YouTube, we now understand that there is actually no audio at that point, and it was the three of us that screamed because we were so terrified. And that wasn't even the scariest part, because of course I forget what her name was. It's like Linda or something, following you around the whole time. And no. I hard pass on PT. I deleted it from my PlayStation after they announced that they were taking it down from the store and everything, because that's how much I don't like Pete. So,
you had to exercise it from your PS4.
I said good riddance, and I removed it from that thing. That's probably how it haunted my apartment, It followed me. So I had to delete it.
Well, if PT didn't make your list, Jordan, what's your spooky game?
Well, like you said, bending the rules a little bit. And I'd say these are in no particular order, just because this one does kind of, like I say, bend the rules. It's going to be Costume Quest 2, made by Double Fine. Of course, I'm a big fan of Tim Schafer, I believe is his name, studio director at or whatever, the guy in charge over at Double Fine, now owned by Microsoft, unfortunately. So I'll never get to play another one of their games on my PlayStation. But I'm a big fan of most of the things they make. And Costume Quest 1 was a little sort of turn-based RPG in the style of kind of a cartoon where you play as a kid who goes trick-or-treating. And of course, the combat is, like I say, turn-based, but it's all themed around Halloween. So the kids are wearing a robot costume, and when you go into battle, you're kind of like a Gundam, and your attacks are based around that. And so different costumes, of course, and Double Fine has kind of a knack for humor in a lot of their games. So, at one point, I think you get like a Thomas Jefferson costume. And its special ability is like you can convince people. And lots of silly, goofy kind of things like that. So, fell in love with Costume Quest 1. And then a few years later, I think to a lot of people's surprise, they came out with Costume Quest 2, which was something that a lot of fans of the first had asked for. And the second one just really kind of refined a lot of the systems, improved on a lot of them, and brought back that humor and the style of the first, but made it better. So yeah, I know I just talked about Costume Quest 1, but 2 is definitely going to be my pick.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's very Halloween themed, I assume.
Exactly. It bends the rules. Like, if we're talking spooky, it's not spooky. But if we're talking Halloween, then it's definitely very on the nose.
Perfect. That sounds cool. I might check it out. My spooky game, though, is going to be Dark Pictures anthology, Man of Medan. Man of Medan, the one that takes place on a boat. I won't spoil too much of it, but it takes place on a boat. I played through, I think, all of the Dark Pictures games except for the Devil in Me. For some reason, I skipped it. But Man of Medan is the scariest one, and also my favorite, because Jordan knows this. Jerica, a little fact about me. I'm actually claustrophobic, but only in video games. Like if I'm in a cave or I'm underground, I'm like, I get anxious. I don't know.
On a boat.
Or on a boat. So this whole game takes place on a boat in the ocean. And I was just like, I know I'm not in a particularly scary part, but it just made me feel claustrophobic and anxious the whole time. And that made it super memorable. And, I had the jump scares and the scary faces and the mystery. And it wasn't a perfect game, but for some reason I felt the most scared of that. And that's why it's my favorite one, even though I'll probably never play it again because it's too spooky. Awesome. Jerica, what's your next favorite spooky game?
Because it's still like fresh on my mind, and also it did have some moments that it truly scared me. I'm leaning really into like it scares me. I love when a game can actually scare me and creep me out. And it was actually Alan Wake, Alan Wake 2 specifically. I didn't expect it to be as like I don't know, like,
Jump scary.
yeah, and I think they ended up toning some of that down with an update, but yeah, there was a lot of
Oh.
moments that I was just, like, getting freaked out by, like, the faces that are popping up and,
Mhm.
like, voices in your head was really creepy and unsettling. And on top of that, like, the mechanics and the gameplay with just trying to figure out how to get to different locations was really cool. And going back between, I forget the lady's name. It's on the tip of my tongue, but going back between her and Alan was really fun.
I'm
They
with
both
you.
have sort of different strengths. But yeah, Alan Wake 2. Haven't got to the DLC yet. It's on my list.
Ooh, heard it's good. That is also on my to play list. I really want to get to Alan Wake 2 and get spooked. I mean, 'tis the season, right? Awesome. Jordan, what's your next game?
Well, just to touch on the Alan Wake side of things, I was going to mention I haven't played it either, but I did watch. Well, one thing you'll find, Jerica, is we're big fans of Kind of Funny. And I watched Andy Cortez stream a bunch of it, and I didn't expect the jump scares that it delivers with. Literally, you're walking around and then just a face will pop up and kind of just scare you. And that turned me away from the game a little bit because, like I said, I don't actually like to be scared. But it is also on my list to get to. However, the next game that I actually am a fan of, and this kind of comes, breaks the mold a bit because I'd argue it's decently scary, and it might be one that's on one of your lists as well, is the first of the studio that made the Dark Pictures games, Until Dawn. Of course, the remake just came out. I have no intention of playing it because I kind of very much see it as, the playthrough that I had is the canon playthrough to me. Granted, it wasn't a good one because in their game, I believe everyone can die or no one can die. And you better believe I saved only one person. And that was not on purpose. But there's definitely a few things towards the very end that can go very wrong very quick. And they sure did. So yeah, it was actually, if I'm not mistaken, it was kind of around the time that PT came out. And I played through Until Dawn with, again, my then girlfriend, now wife, and that same friend that I was talking about with the PT story. And we did the classic, passing the controller, working through the game that way. And then every time there was a decision, we're all shouting at each other, trying to decide what we should do and everything. And so I have very fond memories of it. I think that obviously helps to break the tension a little bit. Don't know that I ever would have played it by myself. But overall, I would definitely say if you're someone who doesn't love scary, like myself, you can pretty comfortably play Until Dawn. There are definitely some jump scares. There are definitely some, maybe some images that will stay with you in your dreams and stuff like that. But nothing too bad. So yeah, Until Dawn.
Cool. That is a good one. I like that one. I'll share my next game. It is actually going to be Uncharted 1. 2 games. And it's for it's because it came in a very specific time in my life. Growing up, I wasn't allowed these rated M games or rated teen games, really. So when I think it came out when I was like 13, 14, and I have 2 younger brothers, so they were even younger. But what happened was our parents went on vacation, so we're staying with Grandma. Grandma let us stay out late. I borrowed a copy of Uncharted from my buddy Brandon down the street.
Okay.
And the 3 of us played Uncharted 1 together. And I remember, and I played it because I'm the oldest, The younger siblings should be playing these violent video games.
Of course, just watching.
Yeah, just watching and telling me what to do.
Just watching all the men die and get shot.
I think there was one part, spoilers for Uncharted 1, where you're trying to sneak around one of the spooky ghouls underground. And then I whispered to my brother, like we were in the same room. I whispered to my brother, like, "Hey, that's right. I'm gonna try to shoot him." And then my brother started laughing so loud. And I'm like, "What are you laughing?" And it's like, "Why are you whispering? Dude, it's a video game. Like, he can't hear you."
Hey, you never know.
Yeah, right? Was there a mic
Just goes to show the quality of the game and like how cinematic it was. You felt like you were there.
I was sweating. I was there. I was sneaking up on this spooky ghoul. So Uncharted 1 gave me my first real taste of a spooky video game.
Nice. I like that. Uncharted 1. a game that I finally got around to playing when PlayStation released trophies. That was when I finally said it was one of the first when they first came out with trophies because they were late to the game with that one. Of course, Xbox had achievements early, or earlier than PlayStation. And Uncharted 1 was in that first wave of games that got trophies. That and Super Stardust HD are the first two that I remember. But yeah, that's what finally caused me to get that one and get on it. And now I have the collector's edition of Uncharted 3 in the background behind me because I'm that big of a fan. And if you look on the wall right here, I don't know if you can see that, that's the belt buckle that came with that very collector's edition.
Wow.
And
Wow,
you better
fancy.
believe I wore that thing in high
I was about
school.
to say,
I
did
was
you
hot
wear
shit.
it?
Yeah, I did. It's actually broken. That's why it's on the wall and not on a belt anymore. I would
So
still
really,
wear
you
it
got
to
the
this
wear
day.
out of it. Yeah.
That's right. I did. I wore it to
Yeah.
death. So
Did it earn you
Anyways.
cool points?
Yeah,
With
I
the
love
cool
Uncharted.
kids? Jerica, what's your next spooky game? And
This one's really hard to narrow it down to one of them, but I do love, as far as like, yes, they're scary, but I love playing Resident Evil games. I'm so glad so many games that have been remade, and it seems like that's going to continue, hopefully, because there's a few others that I haven't played, but definitely Resident Evil 2, phenomenal game, loved it. It's so much fun. Like my favorite thing about those games are just like, I didn't think I would like limited resources, but I actually
Yeah.
do. And having to like organize your bag.
Inventory. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really
Oh,
fun,
interesting.
figuring out what you can carry and moving the things to fit. And then just like all the puzzles and knowing that, you'll come back to it later. It's just always satisfying to me. Like, oh, I wonder how I get to that shotgun that's behind these bars in this cabinet on the wall. But yeah, Resident Evil 2 is definitely one of my favorite Resident Evil games. And then right behind it, I'm gonna add just one other Resident Evil game, but I loved Village so much. It was
Oh.
so amazing. Like to me, like one of the best. I can't. It's hard to compare, but like that one's like almost tied with Resident Evil 2, just because the environment, just this creepy family in the middle of Louisiana in this creepy, gross
Makes sense.
house. Just creepy families in general freak me out, especially like the ones that are trying to feed you like, what was it, like maggots? I don't know if you remember. I tried to play it in VR, but I just couldn't do it. It was too much.
Too much, eh?
I tried it.
Okay.
I did try it. It was a little too much for me.
That experience, I mean, as you know, I'm not a fan. And yeah, I heard that and was like, no, get that. Just don't even come near me with that.
I just confused Village with God.
7? Was it
You
7?
did.
Seven,
You
thank
did.
you,
Yeah, it's okay.
Biohazard. Oh, God. The Village, continuation, also love that too. But yeah, Biohazard was the one.
That's true.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one was creepy.
Did you play it, Sass?
It's funny because my wife, she's been playing through 7 and now
Oh.
Village, or
Good.
has played through 7 already, and I'm like, I haven't played many of the Resident Evil games. I think I just kind of watched over the shoulder, but
Yeah.
watching a little closer this time, I'm like surprised at the amount of limb dismemberment in all these
Yeah.
games. I was like, ooh,
Poor
it
Ethan
makes me feel more
Winters
thankful for my appendages.
gets his hands cut off so much. It's so
Yeah.
sad.
Well, and then I don't know if this is spoilers. It's a little game, but then he just sticks it back on.
I know, he's-
It's kind of funny. It's like,
He
all
gets
right,
used
it's a
to
video
it.
game. It's funny, yeah, and it works. All right, Jordan, what's your next game?
I believe that would be my final one, and that will be the latest by the creators of Until Dawn, and that is The Quarry. Again, obviously I could handle Until Dawn, so I said, well, hey, I'm hearing good things about this Quarry business. So yeah, I got that shortly after it came out, I think a couple of years ago now. And yeah, really, really enjoyed it. It really felt like kind of a return to form. I did try out a couple of the, actual Dark Pictures anthologies ones, because both Until Dawn and The Quarry technically are not a part of that series. And I enjoyed them for what they were, but I never got really far in them. I never really felt much of a push to keep going with them. But The Quarry really kind of felt like a return to form. The setting is similar enough, in theory, or air quotes, bunch of teenagers kind of thing. Obviously, they're, you can't actually call them teenagers, but that kind of idea, out in the woods, very Camp Crystal Lake kind of style. And yeah, without spoiling too much, twists and turns and fun situations. And unfortunately, at this point in my life. The friend that I played through Until Dawn with in PT now lives in Montreal. However, I now live and am married to my wife. So we played through that one together. Same kind of, passing off the controller and everything. So yeah, a lot of fun, that one.
Those games are more fun to play with someone.
Yeah.
It's like watching a movie
Definitely.
and sharing. Yeah.
Mhm.
I forget how many games we have left, but I got one more.
That was my last one.
That was your
so
last one? Okay.
Yeah.
Jerica, do you have one more or?
No,
Oh, no,
that's
you share
yeah,
three. All right,
I've got
okay,
my
just
three.
me. All right, my last one is not a spooky game, but it has spooked me many, many times, and that is a game called Valorant, the online shooter, because, let me make my case. There are lots of times where, I'm looking down a lane, I'm ready to shoot the guy that's going to turn the corner, and then suddenly, like, from behind you hear a ka-chonk, and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
it's behind you. Or like, I'm going to slowly turn this corner. I hope there's nobody there. And there's someone there. And then you freak out and you start aiming
Mhm.
over there. And they're obviously better and they shoot me. There's a lot of jump scares in that game.
That's
You know,
awesome.
For as much as I completely disagree with that being a spooky game, I know what you're saying, because there is that effect when you get killed in Valorant. It has that noise cue that just goes, "Durr," and your body just kind of just falls over, and it is it catches you off guard. I'll give you that much. So
Spooks me.
yeah,
It raises
get it.
my heart rate. It raises my heart rate for sure. Well, thanks everyone for sharing your spooky games during this spooky day. But let's bring it back over to Jerica, our guest of the show. Jerica, we brought you on to talk about the fun in games and how we implement it into our lives. We just shared a bunch of scary games that we implement into our lives, but I want to learn more about you. First of all, though, like, what is JK Games?
So it's a podcast that I started with my friend Kayla. In real life best friends also. In literally we had talked to each other before we started doing this, and I found out that she likes games and really into a lot of the same stuff I'm into. And I was like, hey, there's not a lot of ladies doing what we're doing. You want to like try to do a podcast together and see how it goes? I've never done that at all. I'm just talking to you here at work because we've worked together before, and we just talk about video games. I'm like, this could be something someone's interested in listening to. So, but that's how I got started. Nothing too magical, but just two ladies that like games and like, hey, let's make a podcast and have some fun. Obviously, we had no intention of like getting incredibly great at it. We just wanted to do it for fun and just see if we can commit to something. But yeah, we sort of just put together like an easy plan of us talking about the games we are playing, and then go into like any gaming news topics we're interested in. Like one of our slogans for the show is like, we talk about news that we care about and some things that we don't care about, which is sort of doesn't make sense. But sometimes you have to talk about things you don't care about either. But mainly
like
stuff
spooky
that
games.
yeah, exactly. And we try to pinpoint, with our audience, like we have a lot of folks that started listening to us from our work. And not a lot of those people are gamers. And I remember one of the first requests we got was a coworker that sent us an email, was like, hey, what's some video games I can recommend to or that I could buy for Christmas gifts? So I was like, that's a cool question. And that was one of our, also I forgot to say, like easy modes, like what we've been playing. That's how our show is set up. Normal mode is news, and then expert mode is like the topic of the week. So that was our expert mode for the week. And like we try to, the goal is like our show can be approached by anybody that's just interested in games. Could be someone that you're trying to buy gifts for Christmas or whatever. And we just try to find topics like that occasionally that can apply to a lot of folks. So we don't get too in the nitty gritty. We're pretty casual, but we've been pretty steadily. This year has been a little tough until now, but we try to do at least one episode a month, which I know doesn't sound too frequent. For a while, there was like every other week. But as y'all know too, it's like it's hard, like producing and editing and posting, and then like on top of that, when we do stuff live, that's a whole other part of being tech savvy with all of this stuff.
Mhm.
But yeah, our podcast's mainly about games. Occasionally talk about books and TV shows. And yeah, we've been doing it for a little over 3 years. I mentioned that earlier, and now we're about to get a little bit more serious with it, which is fun.
Yeah, you are transitioning to this project full time. Congratulations. That is
Yeah.
a huge step. Yeah, that is, it's not an easy choice to make, and we'll touch on that in a little bit. But I just want to ask, like with JK Games, you've been doing it for a couple of years. What has been your biggest achievement with the project so far?
I tried to look at like our statistics and like the numbers and everything, and I was trying to land on something cool
Inside
to share.
baseball. Yeah.
But like literally, like from I guess my cheesy heart, it's just so cheesy. It's just like all the people we've met along the way, which I know sounds like what an answer, but it's so true. Like we've made a lot of new friends doing this, and being part of the Kind of Funny community has really allowed us to like reach out and like get people to do shows with us, because that's me and Kayla talk to each other all the time, and then with the show we get used to each other's opinions. I like know what she's gonna say about this game, and I know what she knows what I'm gonna say about this game. So like it's really cool to diversify what we're doing by having other people that want to talk about video games on a podcast or on a YouTube channel. So that's probably the biggest win from having the podcast, is just making all these friends and like learning from some pros and some people that are also similar to me that are just getting into it. And I talk to these people pretty much daily, pretty consistently. So yeah, I think that's the biggest accomplishment from our podcast, is truly that.
Love that. Yeah.
I largely feel like, I mean, you're at least for me personally, you're preaching to the choir here. I'm dressed up as Monkey D. Luffy, who's like, he's my favorite character on the show. And everything you said just is like totally sort of, if you watch One Piece, it's, characteristics of Luffy, right? He's all about his friends. That's what he believes in. You might say his friends are his power, which is sort of a quote from Kingdom Hearts, which is another one of my favorite game series, which I've talked about on the show before. And, I love Sora, the main character, and he's just totally like that. He's cheesy as all hell, but that's, oops, bang my desk. There's one of the Kingdom Hearts characters right there. There's Riku.
Nice. Yeah.
I have the Sora amiibo, but he's actually upstairs on my mantle of the fireplace because he gets the prime time.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, for as cheesy pie as it might be, I definitely agree with you. I mean, Samson and I know each other from the Kind of Funny community. Then we found we had crossover through the Overwatch League with another podcast that isn't officially retired, but I was on and we don't record anymore, and then my own that I don't record anymore. So yeah, I get what you're saying for sure.
The real podcast is the friends we made along the way.
That's
guys.
right.
Truly.
Yeah.
Truly.
And the glizzies we ate on the way.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah, I haven't had a hot dog in a while. Maybe I gotta put that on my list to do. Jerica, you talked a lot, or we're talking about you going into content creation full time and like following your dream more or less is the way I see it. You're kind of taking that big leap. Can you tell us about like the experience of coming to that conclusion? Like, was there a specific moment or like a specific event where you felt like, all right, this is what I want to do. This is my chance and I should take it? Or what was that experience like?
I mean, it's been on my mind for a really long time. And I remember early, like, I think I try to post something for New Year's, just like, these are the things I want to do. I don't know why I'm doing the accent, but that's me trying to make my New Year's resolutions. And I remember putting on Instagram, like, cool little logo for JK Games. And I just put like 2024. I was like, this is going to be an amazing year.
Nice.
Because I knew this was like, at the beginning of the year, I'm like, I knew I was going to make this move. I just didn't know when, but I'm like, this is the year that I finally do this. But yeah, it's something that's been on my mind for a while. And, my girlfriend's in web development. This makes sense in a second. I'm just tying that in. And she had a conference she was going to get to go to in California. And she's like, I gotta, they'll send me and you can come with and stay in the hotel for free. I'm like, yes, I would like to do that.
I will sit at the pool.
And I knew we were going to be in San Francisco, so I actually messaged or emailed Greg, and I was like, "Hey, I would love to at least come see the studio while we're in town. Just I'd love to see it." So I don't know how we don't get to San Francisco often because we are on the other side of the country. But yeah, and he reached back to me and he was like, "Actually, would you like to host Kind of Funny Games Daily a couple of days? How long are you going to be here?"
Wow.
And I was like, I was just shook because I was like,
I bet.
I'm always nervous when I'm doing content with them. I always share, I'm like, "Oh, please, I'm going to wear a diaper because I might shit my pants and then it's going to be a disaster." That's my worst nightmare. But no, yeah, I was so excited and I absolutely said yes. And I got to go do that. I was so scared. That's going from 0 to 100 really fast.
Yeah.
I'm from not a small area, but definitely not San Francisco. So going to a huge new city that I'd been to maybe 3 times and to also work with the Kind of Funny crew for a couple days was just insane. And I just didn't know how I was going to handle it, but ended up doing okay and doing the show. And I thought I was so glad I got to do that because I just wanted to see what it was like. I want to see what the flow is for doing that for your job. I don't have all the details, but it was a rush of adrenaline that just felt really freaking good. And I didn't think I was going to love it that much, but it was a lot. And when we were leaving, I just remember we were going to the airport and I just I not to be a little emotional, I just cried because I also love California so much. I want to eventually live there. We have a couple of friends there and it's just perfect weather. Where I live, there's so much humidity. It's hot. This always sounds bad, but I'm always moist in areas you don't want to be moist in, California weather, it is. That doesn't help.
Yeah, you should really take it off once in a while.
I might at least take this top part off in a minute, but
sure,
I'll just leave it for fun for now. But yeah, it was California's great. And then that whole experience was just a dream. So it was really cool. And I was like, man, that feels really good. That would, be a really cool dream, but who's to say that me and Kayla can't get something going on our own and if we can take it seriously? Because at that time I'm a noob. We're barely making content week to week. So how can we finally be, instead of 60% great or 50% great on some weeks, sometimes 40, how do we get to a 70 or 80, so we can actually get a following? So that experience and just thinking through how could I afford to do it, I was like, I'm gonna do it someday, and I'm gonna really get good at this and try it out and do it all the time to see if it is something I could see myself doing more of. So yeah, I've sort of started rambling and I lost track of the question.
No, it's okay. I can kind of emphasize with that. Content creation for me has always also been a dream, and I know it's it's definitely a I don't want to say a privilege to be able to do it full time, but it is it's a big ask, and to be able to do it is it's because it's such a multidisciplined skill. It's not just hopping on this call and doing a podcast. You're also gonna have to edit it and upload it and make sure your keywords are right and make shorts and other stuff, right? Yeah.
Easily say that I thought I was oh, I love doing all the tech stuff. But I have learned to hate it. Literally last night I was trying to do a live show. And I had everything working, but I didn't check the camera. I just didn't check it. And I go into Discord to see if it's working and my camera just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I'm this has been working consistently well. And then all of a sudden it just doesn't work. What the heck? So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. You have to be, especially if it's 1 or 2 people, it's, it's challenging because some of you have to take on double duty with certain things. And it might not be part of it that you really like. For Kayla, she does a lot of the social media stuff, which I don't mind doing it, but she likes to do that a little bit more than me, so it works out. But yeah, it's tough. It's not easy for sure.
I just show up. So,
Nice.
but I had my own podcast, so I know what all that's like. So, but that's a
Yeah.
part
Yeah.
of why I just show up too. It's because I realized that, yeah, obviously I can do the producing. I did it. My podcast was a one-man podcast. It was me talking into the mic for about an hour every week, and it just kind of, I did it for 3 years and was on another podcast, and then eventually started coming on this one when Samson kind of invited me on. And that's how I learned that, I have a better time when I can just sit back and enjoy the ride a little bit. So yeah, I applaud anyone who does that hard work side of it.
Well,
For sure.
yeah, it's important to have fun along the way for sure. But yeah, some parts is hard, right? Like since it's Halloween, Jerica, like what's the scariest thing about going into content creation full time? Would you say?
Besides running out of money at some point,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Pretty scary.
because that that's a real life heart attack waiting to happen right there, just not having money. But I guess the thing you'd all probably relate to this is that it doesn't really go anywhere, which is sort of dumb because if you do it every day, if it financially doesn't go anywhere or professionally, well, I'll take that back. You get better. At least you are doing the thing, and that's just part of it. If you are doing it consistently, you're just if you're not getting better, maybe someone please tell me, give me feedback so I can just like nip this in the bud and go back to a job. But I think if you really like it and you're practicing getting feedback, and you're just gonna get better for yourself. And a lot of skills that go into what we're doing can relate to a lot of different career paths. And I think just being able to do all of this stuff, communicate and have a great outline and questions, and make sure your guests and stuff like are situated. And I don't know, it's like a lot of customer service sort of workflow with that too. But yeah, I think that's the part of my brain that like always is still gonna be there and be like a little devil behind us saying, you're not getting any better. This was pointless. You're wasting your time. So like that's part of it. Like, will it amount to anything? But you gotta stay positive. It will. It will.
Yeah, it's like the slow grind, like farming the easy Pokemon to gain the experience so you can get to level 100, right?
Perfect analogy. Nailed it.
Hope I wasn't reaching there.
No.
The thing I was thinking of earlier, it takes 10 years to be an overnight success. So that's what I was thinking of. But yeah, just doing it daily and being there and it's tough because everyone's their own harshest critic. That little devil at the back of your head saying like it's not worth it. But as long as you keep doing it, right?
The gamers are mean. Online
true.
gamers are mean. So like that's also a part of it too. But luckily, I'm not just a shiny hot dog. I have a tough bun too. It's the bun is probably needs to go into the trash because it's just stale.
It's being protective, and mean gamers out there, stop being mean. We're all just trying to have fun.
You're gonna break your fork on my bun. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't try and touch that hot dog.
Nope.
Fair enough. I guess like with this transition, you brought it up a little earlier, but or Jordan brought it up a little earlier. Running out of money is kind of a big worry. Maybe for folks out there that have been thinking of doing this transition, like, what's your advice with preparing yourself financially to be able to do your passion full time, content creation full time?
Yeah, I think some of the variables that have aligned up with me, and like I'm very fortunate and like has taken some steps for me to get situated first. But I definitely will say like I have some cheat sheets in here. Cheat sheets aren't. I'm not giving you a cheat code. I have advantages. That's what I meant to say. Sorry, I don't have the cheat sheet for y'all. But my girlfriend, has a really stable job, which for a while she didn't. And like where we live, being in development, there was a lot of situations where she got let go and had to find new jobs. And she's finally at a place where she's at a stable career, and that's one of the puzzle pieces I was just waiting to fit right, is for her to be stable enough so I could eventually do this. So that helps, having a significant other that makes money. That's probably one step
Nice.
that's worked for me. And then the other is, I've been very fortunate, and not to say like I love the work. It was not an easy thing for me to step away from what I was doing. So I love that work, and it's been a part of my life for a while. But doing that for so long and sort of preparing and putting money away and like trying to be responsible and not buy any more sneakers is something I really had to start doing. I mean, there's a reason why we haven't had a vacation in a while. We went to PAX earlier this year, but we only went with like our group of friends, and we shared a place where normally me and my girlfriend just want to be solo. I do not want to share space with anyone. I want my own space every time I go somewhere. But like things like that, just watching what you spend and just preparing to do it is probably, at least that's not one of the stresses on you. Cause like, yes, that's a stress. It's not as big of a scare as it could be if I didn't prepare. So,
So it sounds like it's been in the works for a while. Like you were conscious of this part, and it wasn't just all right, today's the day, and what's in your bank account's in your bank account. Yeah.
No, definitely some preparation and some time. Like it probably has been about a couple of years in the making. Just figuring out how that can look and waiting for the stars align, especially with my girlfriend getting into her new career and spot. Has definitely, that was a big one that we were just wanting to get good. You know, we've been looking at houses. Like, I'd love to get more space. You can't see it here. I have a cool brick wall, but like outside of that, there's not a lot of space in our place. And we're just constantly running out of space. I have so many gaming figures, knickknacks, and I have no place to put them. I'm like, we need more rooms. So I had to put that on the back burner. Like, that's definitely something we can't do. And we got to be sort of happy with not having space. So, I mean, anyone that you sort of have the same things when, like, if you're moving to a new city, which we thought about too, like, and just the cost of living, it's just outrageous. It's outrageous.
Yeah.
I might retire in this house. There's stairs. We have an upstairs, and I'm going to install one of those seats, the elevator seats for older people that can't walk. We'll probably eventually have to get one of those, you know, because we're going to retire in this house.
Yeah.
Unless maybe it gets a little bit better, but regardless, now I'm rambling again. It's something I'm working on.
It's all good. I think a couple points there is those small sacrifices are normal and part of the process, so don't be afraid to do that. And then just being flexible and don't not have goals, but also be realistic with your goals and adjust and maneuver and make way for opportunities as they come. And Jordan, you're about to say something?
I mean, I wasn't, but I can comment on the space issue because I have what I like to call a box of mortgage payment amiibos sitting behind me that I don't have anywhere. Because that's about how much money is in that box, and I have nowhere to put them. Like, I mean, obviously I have space behind me, but I have nowhere good to put them. But, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, just space is true. I've like the reason why
you just moved, so you know what that's like too.
I'm in a small condo. The reason why you see this, I'm not actually in Barbie Land for those watching YouTube.
It's super believable, though.
Sorry, behind me is behind me in real life is actually like a Dyson vacuum and some board games.
Nice.
That's where we're at. What has been the biggest like surprise of JK Games since you started to go full time? I know it hasn't been too long, but like, what has been a really cool surprise so far?
Just being able to say, like, have the ability to be on more and like being able to read all the gaming news like as it's happening, because like, while I was working full time, like I didn't have a lot of time to even look at my phone. Like, it was just nonstop action with what I did. And for me, being able to slow down and actually like stay up on what the trending topics have been has been really nice to see and comment, and I could be on Twitter or whatever. And then like also just streaming multiple times this week. Like I've both weeks. This is week number 2 that I'm doing this. I've literally I've been trying to say yes to everything and getting, I don't know, like I had Madeline Stanley on our show last night. Yeah. Kind of funny up and comer. So me and her we tried to only spend like an hour of talking. Like that was like, I'm like, hey, it's probably going to be just about an hour. We went like almost 2 hours. Yeah. And I think I saw someone in the chat. I don't know who it was.
I popped in near the end and just said what's
I
up.
actually did too at one point.
Excellent.
We're supporting you.
I didn't know Samson did, but yeah.
I was way late.
It was like 2 nights in a row. Like I've been up late doing this stuff. So I'm getting used to that. But and then the week before, me and Kayla did a stream playing Don't Scream. Could be scary for folks as there are jump scares and you're just literally trying not to scream, which I was actually pretty good at it. Made a lot of sounds, but it wasn't loud enough to get caught by the mic. And when we did that, we've, made a few friends here and there. I think Jake Twitchin was streaming and he was able to raid our channel as well.
Oh, nice.
And
Cool.
so we just had so many more, like usually we have like 3 or 4 people. We maybe have 8 people watching our streams, which to me is a million people. So when we have, over 10, I'm like, oh my God, we've hit it big time. This is it. This is the money right here. And not just people like watching, they were interacting and like having conversations. So it's fun. So that like being able to see like what it could be. And I think that for me, even streaming, just seeing anyone in chat like talking to each other, that's really cool. Obviously it's cool for them to ask us questions and stuff, but I like to see strangers talking to each other like in the chat. Like I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
cool. Yeah. The friends we made along the way.
Still, I think
here.
something we just haven't witnessed. And I think just because we're doing stuff a little bit more consistently, we're starting to see that kind of reaction. And I want to keep doing that.
Cool. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I've definitely been in those chat rooms and I didn't actually think about it at the time, but yeah, I am chatting with folks that I wouldn't have connected with other ways. And it was just because of you and your streams and the community that you're starting to build up.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. That is a great surprise. I guess future of JK Games. Sounds like you got some traction. We're moving along. I mean, you've already been on Kind of Funny Games Daily multiple times, so that's already like a huge, amazing achievement.
I have no idea why. I'm glad they enjoyed me enough, or at least Greg.
Yeah, they saw some natural talent there.
I'm just kidding.
Sure.
Like, yeah, I know I'm pretty decent, but yeah, it's been really cool opportunities to sort of fill in when they need some help.
Yeah. So in the future, like, where do you see JK Games going? Like, what's your dream for JK Games, or I guess yourself and Kayla, with this new adventure?
Well, with my new schedule, me and Kayla are gonna, land on like, I think we're either gonna be Monday or Tuesdays, and just like have the weekly streams. That's our biggest thing that we are wanting to nail down, like having a consistent episode, same time every week, and then maybe dripping in like a Let's Play stream, like with me and her playing something spooky again. That seems to be the most entertaining thing to watch us do. And like I want to do Destiny Tuesdays as well, because I'm a big Destiny fan, but I also hate it. I talked about that last night. Hate it, but I love it. But I hate it.
I think I have a game like that in my life.
I think. Yeah.
So like I have a lot of ideas. So I'm still in the phase where I'm just trying to like get realistic with what I can do, and also still like have an off day for like truly an off day. I think that's, we'll get to that in probably a little bit, like what are some of the challenges I'm sort of discovering, but we have plans. We'll get to that later, but we do have plans But we can't talk about right now. And I'm not trying to be all cool. We got plans. But there's some things in motion that me and her are working on that when the time comes, like I can't wait to announce it because it's something that we have been taking very seriously because we're professionals. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes.
And I think it'll allow us to. The biggest thing is like even saying yes to coming on here is, I think, is such a privilege and just yeah, it really is. And then for me, like I don't want to show up and do a. I was about to. I don't know how we're big on cussing up here. I almost said half-ass it, but you know what I'm saying. Too late. Said it.
We're good.
Okay. And I think that's a quality in me that can be a detriment sometimes, but ultimately, like, I don't want to let anyone down and like want to show up and do some of my best work. So just saying yes and doing that is sort of what our show needs, like some accountability to some extent. So we're looking at ways that we can hold ourselves accountable.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I think another way is like you have not like a high expectation for yourself, but also realistic.
Yeah.
Accountable. I like that word though. Like you want to be accountable and respectful to like your not just your guests but also your co-hosts and their time and your listener and viewers' time as well. That's something that I definitely empathize with is like, hey, you're agreeing to spend an hour of your day with me and Jordan, whether it's in the car or you're walking your dog or whatever. How can I make this hour worth it for you?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm a part of this episode with y'all and I want to do my part too. So I make sure that's why I drink all of this Red Bull because I want to be on for each of you. And all of you listening and watching, I want to be on for you. So this is me doing the
Excellent. Yes. Well, it is a privilege. Let me send it back. It's a privilege to have you on our show because we are small beans and we beans got to stick together.
Beans and weenies. That's a delicacy where I'm from. Truly.
It's like GeoGuessr. Where is Jerica from? Beans and weenies is a delicacy.
Commonly you can probably guess. Occasionally, I'm pretty southern sometimes. So.
You touched on it on a little bit just now, but you mentioned some of the challenges that you've had so far. You touched on a little bit about like figuring out the style you want, the schedule you want. Are there any other challenges that you've found so far with this full-time journey? Like, even though you're still kind of setting stuff up?
Yeah. One of the things I like to say, like, I was in management before. So like, I'm really good at like getting some game plans together, in a work sense for myself in that environment and for a lot of other people. But now that I'm sort of just doing that for myself, I thought I'd be really good at it, but it's been tough because there's so many things. Like the first plan was like, I'm just going to make sure that all my tech works and that this is easier to do where I can just click a couple buttons and we're streaming, I'm recording.
That's the dream.
That's it, right? And I definitely have some opportunities there, but because of my skill set, like a couple of things that I've tried to get set up like took so much of my time. And I'm like, could I have planned that better? Like, can I take some things in chunks, like looking back at it instead of trying to do this one thing all freaking day?
Yeah.
And first 2 weeks, I like to say I'm a gamer, but I haven't been playing a lot of games yet. When is that supposed to happen? I thought that was supposed to be a part of this deal I made with myself, that I could play games more and talk about them.
Oh my gosh. I can
literally
relate.
played Destiny for a couple hours before I did this with y'all today. And I have not played Destiny in like 5 days, and that's a big thing. And it's because I sat at this desk and I'm just doing all kinds, like I'm doing work, but I'm just doing a lot of different things. So not only managing my time with the shows I'm doing and like the people I'm meeting, I also need to manage my workflow. Like I got to figure out what that looks like. Like, do I have a day where I am just working on troubleshooting and tech, and I got to have a day to upload stuff. I haven't even edited. I was wanting to edit the episode that we did with Madeline Stanley last night, and like it's just sitting on my desktop. Like, probably should have a day where I'm doing that, and not just do it when I think about it. So that's where I'm at. Like, that's the challenge. Like, I haven't figured out the sustainable flow for me getting stuff done efficiently yet. So that's what I'm working on.
Yeah, that is a big challenge, a big part of it. Yeah, definitely. Like, I think that's why they hire a whole extra person to do this, like these companies and stuff.
Yeah.
I had a
sure.
guest on an earlier show, and he was saying like, it's his podcast, but behind the scenes, he works with a whole other company that produces everything, edits everything, and uploads everything. So it's like, oh, okay. So it's, even though one person's on the camera, there's like a lot of folks working behind the scenes. But when you are just starting out and maybe still finding like what your show is, it's got to be on you, and you got to do it. So yeah, it's tough. It's tricky. Jordan, you kind of had some experience with solo podcasting, though. Do you have any like tips for staying vigilant with the uploading schedule, the production and editing and all that?
I mean, honestly, it's anyone who's done streaming, podcasting, things like that, content creation in general, will tell you, like, you really, I mean, at least what I found was you really just have to dedicate the time and the scheduling to it. I always kind of wanted to do this kind of stuff. I mean, just like you're talking, Jerica, I would love to be content creation the whole time. Full time. I'd love to just stream games. Although I do love podcasting, and mostly because of the interaction that I get with other people when I do it. Some of the most fun I had was when I was just, when Elden Ring first came out, I was streaming it, and I just had a ton of fun. And like you say, max 3 people watch it, and 2 of them were my cousins. So it was like, I almost no audience, but like it felt like you had a little. I wouldn't go as far as to call it a community, because does 3 people make a community, but a little group to bond with and interact with while you're playing your games and everything like that. But yeah, getting back on track there. I really, at some point, I just had to kind of, say to my wife and everything, like, is it okay if I just pick a day, and that's a day and time, and that's when I will record my own podcast at the very least? And she was like, yeah, of course. Like, she has her own hobbies and things like that. She plays soccer, and that's always same day of the week. Time kind of varies sometimes, but she's like, that I have soccer on Thursdays, so don't record on Thursdays. And I was like, hey, great idea. So I recorded on Wednesdays or whatever. But it really does come down to just forming that habit. And like I say, I mean, I did my own podcast for 3 years. I actually went back and found the first episode was February 3rd, 2020. But that habit, that consistency, kind of going back to a lot of what you were talking about, Jerica, I've gone back a couple times and listened to that first episode, and it's painful to listen to things that old. Just like I struggle to convey the words about how awkward it felt to go back and listen to that. But that's also, doing that and having that schedule and getting, in a lot of ways, that practice in and forming that habit really helped me to strengthen the skills that go behind that. And then, of course, through that, I met the guys on Ready, Set, Pwn, the other podcast that eventually they invited me to be the third chair on. And we did that for a number of years until the collapse of the Overwatch League. And obviously, Samson, again, bringing it back to you, that's kind of how I first started interacting with you, and you started what was originally Grow Up, Level Up, and then you went on to see if I had interest in joining you on a, more, I don't know what to call our show, more gaming dedicated. I don't know, because Grow Up, Level Up is about games, just in a different sense. So, it really just strengthens all of that. And, I just like you, I've lost the plot here, but anyways,
it happens.
Back to you, Samson.
It was really good insight, though. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Can we find any of those episodes? of the show
Oh,
you speak of?
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, you're in luck because my subscription is up in like February for the podcast hosting service that I
Oh,
use.
snap. Let's
I am
go.
not planning to renew it because I haven't recorded an episode in, well, by the time the subscription is up, probably about a year. So I am going to let it lapse, and all those old episodes will go bye-bye at that point. But,
Snap. Sounds like
yeah,
we got
so-
some downloading to do.
Yeah.
go for it. Archive that stuff for me,
Yeah,
please.
yeah.
Please.
It's called One Man Watch Point, Jerica. If you
It
want to,
was.
Okay.
if you want to check it out. Sorry,
Yeah.
Jordan, I'm not sure if you wanted to.
Oh, that's fine.
Figure
I
that
mean,
out.
by all means, people, go download my old podcast. Last episode was April 17th of this year.
Ooh,
So, yeah.
What a time trip. We're kind of coming up onto the end of our episode here. So, Jerica, I got one more question to ask you about content creation. You haven't been in it for too long, but if you were to give a tip to somebody who's looking to do the same as you, to follow that first step into full-time content creation, what tip would you give them, or tips?
I definitely think it's important to like not do it alone. Like I wouldn't do this solo. For me, my experience has been really great doing this with someone I know really well. So like an in real life friend is a good place to start. And if you can't do that, think about where
Jordan.
you're playing games. Yeah, go online, Reddit, wherever, and like get in that community. At least find somebody in a community that you like to be a fan of, and that's usually where you can find a lot of like-minded people. And there's a lot of people that like Mass Effect, and I've met a lot of people in that community because of that. So start there. Maybe I'll do a show about Mass Effect. That's a good place to start. If you're start doing it, talking about it, let it be something you really, really love. I say start with something you really, really love, and just go from there. But start easy, do it with somebody. Make sure it's something whatever you're talking about, make sure you love it.
Jordan, did you have a thought there? You had your
Yeah, you brought up Mass Effect, so I just have to point out that BioWare is based in the city I live in. So
I know. I've literally wanted to go take a trip just because of that. And I'm like, I couldn't even get in. I know, but maybe if I wave long enough, they'll be like, let her in.
I constantly look at their job boards just to be like, maybe one day. Maybe.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, Dragon Age coming out.
I know.
Yeah, they made. Yeah, BioWare. Yeah. Awesome. Guess another question for you, Jerica, about games. Like growing up, did you ever think you'd be working in games? Like, was this ever the plan for a young Jerica, or just
No.
a happy accident? Yeah.
I wanted to chase tornadoes for the longest. I thought that
Wow.
was going to be the thing. I was obsessed with the weather. I was a weird weather kid. Still sort of am. I love the weather. I like looking at the storms and looking at the radar. But yeah, that's what I thought. And I've been playing games. I literally have this in a few of my bios. Like I have been playing games before I could literally read. I remember my mother would there was some kind of fishing game on the Sega Genesis, and my mother had to get me through these menus because I couldn't read what it needed. Like it was asking me to do so I could catch these fish. So I've been playing games my whole life, but as a kid, even as even when I was in middle school and high school, I'd never considered that being a career path. And on top of that, this being a career, because when I was going to college, YouTube was a thing. Now I'm starting to sound so dated, but I feel like y'all are about in the same age range here. It wasn't big enough like what we have today. So this wasn't even a real thing in my head, or at least if someone was doing it at IGN, hopefully I maybe caught that YouTube video or looked on their site, but I didn't have access to it anytime, anywhere on my phone. So yeah, I think some of those variables sort of affect that. I think if I would have been exposed to stuff like this a little bit younger, it would have been a thought. But of course our parents wouldn't have known. If anything, they thought games were just a waste of time and space. So my mom actually was really awesome about that. She let me play anything, anytime. Did not care about the rating. I was playing Grand Theft Auto at a very young age. I turned out fine. I'm just a hot dog. So, yeah,
just a simple hot dog.
Didn't really see myself doing this for sure.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you're right. You bring up a really good point. Like YouTube was just starting to hit the mainstream. Like the biggest YouTubers had like 1,000 subscribers, and you're like, whoa, that's crazy, 1,000
Yeah.
people. But it's never
Wow.
this full-time podcasting. Content creation wasn't even a term growing
Yeah.
up. Like went gibberish. So yeah, no, it's definitely cool how this is now a real industry. And for all the youngins listening to us, if
Yeah.
you're out there, chase your dreams. You can do it.
Just do it. Just do it.
Just do it. As we close out our show, Jerica, I like to ask our guests two kind of fun questions. Would you like to start with the fun one or the wholesome one?
Surprise me. I'm ready.
All right. Let's start with the wholesome one, because people usually choose the fun one first. Wholesome one. What is your one piece of wisdom to leave with the world?
After this podcast, you die.
I'm not.
So better
You
get that
know-
wisdom out there.
I know it's very. I'm not a super wise person. I'm like literally dressed up as a hot dog right now. Like, but I will say, a lot of my success and just my mental health have just come from just being silly and having a good time. You know, I like the comedic relief that's usually me in the room, and just like finding a reason to laugh and have a good time is like always ingrained to anything I've ever done. Some might say that's unprofessional, but I think fun needs to be a part of everybody's career. I don't care what you're doing, unless maybe you're doing open heart surgery. That's probably not fun, and you don't want to giggle and mess something up. So let me rethink that. But hopefully after you're done fixing that heart, you go maybe laugh with a coworker about fixing hearts. I don't know where I'm going
That
with
guy's
that.
heart suck.
Having fun. No, I agree with that. You know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
have fun.
Laughter's
you know?
laughter's the best medicine. I'm tying into doctor thing.
That's
Laughter's
right.
the best medicine.
That and just go, I'm once again not a lot of wisdom here, just like be okay with the things just going the way the way the river flows. I'm trying to make something wise out of nothing right now. Just go along. Be in the tube on the lazy river, wherever it takes you, which I think
Yeah.
a lazy river is going to just take you back to the beginning. So this is still not working. You know what I mean. I'm going to stop there.
Makes sense to me, and
Yeah.
I definitely can live with that every day. I do like to be silly, as I say in my Ken costume in our Hot Dog and Luffy podcast.
Yeah.
Love it. Fun question to close out the show. So Grow Up, Level Up, blew up. We are the biggest podcast in the world. We're huge. We got millions of dollars to throw around, and I want to fund your dream video game or project or whatever it could be. Maybe I buy JK Games out, you know.
Come on,
but
please,
if-
God. We wouldn't. It wouldn't have to be much. It wouldn't.
a hot dog and a half.
There you go.
If I were to fund your dream project, your dream game, what would it be? What would it look like? What would you make?
I definitely would look for a way. I always said if I won the lottery, I still don't think it would have to be a lot of money. Could I buy BioWare from EA?
Whoa.
They still own it, right? That's how
Right.
I'd
Yeah.
spend my money. I would. I want
That's a
to
good
protect
idea.
that business so much. I don't want them to be forced to do anything else
Right.
that EA is making them do, because I'm sure that's what's happening. I'm just kidding. It's a lot of
Andromeda.
variables.
Yeah.
I think about the games I'd like to combine. Like,
Mhm.
there's a few things in some of my favorite games of all time that don't have it all, but
Mhm.
they got other things that I find, man, I wish more games did this. So like with BioWare, specifically Mass Effect, like the dialogue and how deep the choices go for that trilogy is just so freaking cool.
Mhm.
I think I remember reading an article that like literally the script would fill up a very large room if it was stacked. Like there's just so much dialogue, which takes a lot of time, I know, but that kind of experience, just thinking about, and like I haven't played Baldur's Gate myself, but I've watched people play. Like that kind of narrative is so freaking cool. So I'd love a game that's that deep with narrative and choice and interactions with your in-game buddies. So mix that, because I will say this, what Destiny has is incredible gunplay. Oh my God.
Okay,
Like,
okay. I see where this is going.
I don't know if you've ever ridden a roller coaster, specifically a wooden one.
Yeah, actually, I am.
Okay. There's a few games out there I would consider that's a wooden roller coaster, but Destiny 2 is would it be a steel roller coaster? The smooth ride,
Sure,
it's just so buttery smooth. Like, that game is the best feeling gunplay game, first person shooter I've ever played in my book. Combine that with some Mass Effect dialogue choice and story, which, Destiny is getting closer to some of that stuff. But it's an online game, so it's a little bit different. But I'd like Mass Effect to have that kind of gameplay. So, like, a sci-fi, I definitely want it to be a space game, because I love space so much. And just combine that with killing other people in space, and that and can I make a choice about it?
I love
Someone
that.
romance me if I kill this other person in space. So there we go. There we have it.
Yeah, and make it feel real good.
Yeah, make it feel real good.
Oh, that's awesome. What would you call it? That's a big question. Big question.
That is a big question. That might be the hardest one of all. Now, let me give everyone some insight into what your brain is going through now. You're now like, okay, do I combine Destiny and Mass Effect and call it Destiny Effect, or like Mass Destiny, or
do we tie a hot dog in there somehow?
Yep.
Hold on, let me Google one thing.
Mass Hot Dog Destiny.
Yeah, will there be a hot dog Easter egg in it? I feel like we gotta at this point.
Absolutely. It's been
I would call it. I just looked up space words, and I'm gonna pick the coolest one. Like, I love the words black hole dogs. Thinking of hot dogs.
Black hole dogs.
That's
that
the name
sounds
of it.
kind of badass. Yeah,
It does. I don't know. Like, Kojima probably would.
I was getting some Metal Gear stuff out of that.
Yeah.
Black hole dogs.
You'd be eyeing those names. Like, hey, I need to implement this group, mercenary group, into my next game.
That's what it sounds like, a mercenary group or something from Metal Gear.
No, it's an original IP actually, Black Hole Dogs from Jerica.
Good point.
Kojima, if you're listening though, you can feel free to work on this project.
I also sort of want to sing that song, which I won't sing on here because I don't want YouTube to be like, oh my God, that's that song. I don't know if that's how it works, but that's how I'm singing.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Please don't demonetize this, YouTube. Anyways, welcome to the end of the show, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on this special interview episode of Grow Up, Level Up. If you liked what you listened to and would like to connect with Jerica and see what she's up to with JK Games, where can people find you, Jerica?
You can find me pretty much anywhere. I guess where are people going these days? Are we on Threads?
Just the Blue Sky.
Yeah, we were talking about this last week.
I am on there, but I forget what hopefully Jerica was available, but that's my username on most things is Jerica. It's a play on like how my niece says my name. I always tell the story. I'm like, why am I telling y'all this story? But my niece calls me Jerica. It's very cute. I like it. And then combining that with Pikachu. I love that. It's one of my favorite Pokemon. So Jerica, that's where the name. I'm not a jerk. Just saying.
Or Pikachu.
Verified.
Or Pikachu, unfortunately.
We can confirm that here. And you are Jerica on.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you for confirming. It's almost, that reminds me of that time where I was trying to make a TikTok that I made a TikTok account. I'm trying to get better with that too. So I can put content on there. And I was making an account with my name. I was like, someone's already taken it. What the hell? And it was myself. I myself had already done it. And I had 2 accounts. I was like, God, I've hit it. I've hit the point where I'm that grandma that has duplicate accounts on social media. Anyway, yeah, Jerica, and then JK Games podcast. Me and Caleb both sort of manage that, so you'll reach each of us there if you decide.
Mhm.
Also on all the things.
Excellent. Yeah, and we'll put it down in the description below for those watching on YouTube or listening on podcast. My name is Samson. You can find me at SamsonXP on all the socials. I believe I have a different name on Blue Sky, though. I think I snagged something cool. I think I'm SMSN, like the 4 letters. So
Nice.
I was in there.
You guys are really
So-
making me work here. I gotta look up.
Signing up for everything as we speak. You can find me at SamsonXP on everything, SMSN on Blue Sky, at Grow Up Level Up on all the socials. That's GROWUP, LEVELUP, at everything else. If you liked what you listened here, check out some of our other YouTube videos and podcasts. Jordan and I do a weekly podcast called Grow Up Level Up Gamers Club, where we chat about the funny games we've been playing each week, what games you should be playing in your after work time, our reviews, previews, impressions of games that we've been playing. Last week I talked about a meetup up here in Vancouver, just a Twitch creators meetup. That was a really cool one, really fun experience. So come check that out. Jordan, where can people find you?
Catch me on Blue Sky these days at SirDrJM. That's SirDrJM. You can also follow me on all socials at SirDrJM, as that is me. If you'd really like to, you can go find One Man Watch Point on podcast services everywhere. That is my old Overwatch/Overwatch League podcast, which hasn't had an episode since April. So have fun with that if that's what you choose to spend your time doing.
If you want to time travel, go do that.
That's great. Yeah.
Thank you so much for tuning in this week. Make sure to subscribe because we got another Gamers Club next week and another interview episode whenever it happens. That's just the way we work, you know?
I thought you were about to announce one. I was like, we do, but gotcha.
I was also
Nope.
excited. I'm like, who is it going to be? I'm ready.
Well, we'll figure it out. Hey, if you got a cool story or you're working on something cool, feel free to reach out to us anytime. We are very open to collaborating and having fun with that because that's kind of where we're at. Small steps at a time, building that community, all the things we talked about in today's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget to subscribe and all that. And Jerica, take us away with your famous last words. Not in a dead way, not like the wisdom way.
Oh,
That way you're
okay.
talking.
Oh, yeah. I was like, don't forget to just eat a hot dog once in a while. Doesn't cost a lot of money, and they're pretty tasty. So